India should aim for $1 trillion of merchandise exports and $1 trillion of services exports. $2 trillion by 2030, if not earlier. This is my preliminary target. I still to engage more with all of you. I would love to see that happen by 2028. But right now, literally 2030, I assure you, and I assure the nation through you, that India can look for $1 trillion of merchandise and $1 trillion of services exports by 2030. If you exude a little bit more confidence than you usually do, Rahul, then possibly we can certainly do it by 2028.
Our job is to be very realistic. And
well, I'm also extremely realistic. I think the realism also should reflect the realism on the ground that we see. It's the ground story that shows us the realism is that we can do it faster.
I was at the Harvard Business School in summer, and one of the things I picked up there is how bullish everybody was on the India story globally. So we had this exercise in class where people had to bet on a financial security over a 30-year horizon and say if you had to pick between India and China and the returns of the security were linked to the GDP growth of that particular country, which one would you pick? And 95% of the students from a global cohort actually picked India. So there is huge amount of optimism, which is quite interesting. I was actually thinking that China may do well because they've done well traditionally, and I don't know how the rest of the cohort would see India. But in the way that the discussion evolved, they actually picked India, which is fantastic. You spoke of Yuva Shakti, Minister. One of the big challenges is to ensure that the demographic dividend doesn't turn into a demographic disaster, and ensuring that young people have gainful employment, and therefore ensuring that there are adequate jobs. We saw, for example, what happened with the Agniveer protests. And how are you in government looking at this sense that whenever there are jobs that are put out, for example, railway jobs in Bihar, we see a lot of people clamoring to try and get in and very uncertain about their prospects. We've seen a lot of members of India Inc. say they will look at hiring some of these Jawans, but as somebody who's really at the apex of thinking about policy making, how are you looking at job opportunities being created?
Well, I think very clearly, all those who apply, and I, as Railway Minister, I can tell you that we would also have a lot of applications. All those who are applying for a government job are not necessarily all unemployed. What you may like to articulate as people who are just without any work. There is a mindset in the country, albeit fast changing, where traditionally it was that if you get a government job, you are sorted for life. You have your safe job, you can't be kicked out. You'll get your pension till, and now with the long lifespan for years and years, and then your family and other dependents. And that comfort zone of a government job is actually a legacy we are trying to break. It's a legacy of the past, of the way the Indian economy worked between the post-independence period until a few years ago, until at least certainly until 1990, where we made our people only focus on government job and the safety and security of a government job. We actually landed up killing the entrepreneurial spirit which India was traditionally always known for. We've actually created a situation where instead of a young, forward-looking government machinery, armed forces, we are encouraging going down a path where we will not see growth as much as we'll see just people clamoring for getting into a safe zone. I think that has to change, that will change, that's fast changing. The kind of enthusiasm in our startups, through the COVID period, we actually came up with a unicorn a week. Over 110 odd unicorns right now. And fast growing, the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, will be first largest in the next 7-8 years. 100%.